today on a long layered haircut. I've had a few people reach out to me and ask me about long layers for people or our customers and clients that have, really long hair past their shoulders. Um, Typically, when we are teaching you guys the basics, we teach you a 180. So what happens with the 180 is, we've kind of talked about it before. I know I've mentioned it to you guys before, but it kind of looks like you just have like one layer, two layers, three layers. And that's how come sometimes people come in and they say, oh, I just want 2 layers, or I just want 3 layers, because that's all they're really seeing. But we really want a haircut that's going to have continuous layers all the way down. So if they choose to curl their hair, with a curling iron or flat iron, things like that, it doesn't look choppy. It doesn't look just like 2 layers or 3 layers, that like one line and then another line. That looks kind of like, it doesn't look like a flowing haircut. So what I'm gonna do today on our little client right here is a layered haircut that's really simple. It's really fast. It's a really quick haircut to do. It's very easy once you learn the technique. It's just gonna come to you, and you're gonna be able to do a layered haircut in 30 minutes, maybe even less if the person has, not a lot of hair. But that's really what you want to do. You want to be able to do a quick haircut. So when doing a haircut, your tools are very important. We all have our shears, but also to have a really good comb, especially for long hair. Because when you're doing a long-haired haircut, if you have one of those really thin little combs and you're trying to comb the hair, or if you're trying to use a rat tail comb because you can part better with it, that's not really going to give you, a good base to hold on to when you're combing the hair and when you're holding it with your comb. You're pulling out your sections. So it's really, really good to get a nice comb. I like this comb right here. It's a really hard rubber comb, plastic comb, and it's about 2 inches, 2.5 inches in width. That gives me a nice base to pull out my subsections and be able to handle the hair better. Okay, so that really, your tools are really important for you to invest in. Okay, so we're going to start off by creating our sections, and we're going to create our sections by making our middle part. Okay, so I like to part the hair. When I do this haircut, I like the hair to be pretty wet because it's easier to comb through, especially long hair. Okay, when I do this haircut, I like it to be in the natural. I like to have the natural part at the top, because if I force a part in there, and then when our client goes home, that's not the way she's going to part her hair. Her hair's going to part the way it wants to. So the way to establish your natural part is to comb all the hair straight back, and then you kind of push on it a little bit like that. And when you push on it a little bit from the back like that, it's going to automatically open to its natural part, and then that's where you're going to want to part the hair. Okay, and make sure it's straight from the back. Just because it's a natural part, we don't want it to be all crooked. Okay, so nice straight partings. Your partings make a huge difference in your haircut, because you want to make sure that you're getting an even amount of hair. So you want to make nice clean partings, especially when going to state board. They want to see that you know how to handle the hair, that you have good handling of the hair, you know how to control it. So you want to make sure that you do that for state board. Okay, so now I have my center part. I'm going to go from the top of the head, almost at the crown, to right behind the ear. And that will be my first subsection. And I'm going to section out. Over to the other side from the top of the head, right behind the ear. So once you start doing this haircut, you're going to be able to do it really quick. You may be able to, you know, work through it a lot faster. At first, it feels a little awkward because you're used to doing, you know, the 180 or the 90. This is kind of an in-between. So as you're going to see here, I have my 4 sections. I left out my guideline in the back. So I left out, maybe it's about a 2-inch subsection, 2-inch going this way. That's going to be my guide. So I'm going to cut that the length of the hair that I want, your client wants cut off. So if she wants, you know, 2 inches, 1 inch, 3 inches, whatever she wants, that's going to be your guide. And we're going to start by tilting the head just slightly forward to cut our guideline at the back. Turn like this. So I'm just going to cut off like 1 inch off the length because I want it to be long layers. So I want you to see what, you know, the long layer cut. So I'm cutting 1 inch at a 0 degree. So the 0 degree will be almost touching the body. If I hold it out like this, it's going to cause elevation and it's going to cut the hair in different lengths. Has to be down here. And you're moving with your guide. If you bring the hair back here, you're over directing if you're cutting it over here. So you move around your client. Okay, once I've established that guide, now I can bring the rest of the hair down. So this is going to determine on how comfortable you are with how big of a subsection. If you're still not too comfortable with your subsections, you know, bring down a little at a time. You know, you could bring down 2 inches, 3 inches, whatever you prefer. At some point, you could just bring down all the hair and cut it at the guide. Okay. I'm just going to bring down half right now, and then I'll bring down the other half. Okay, and I'm going to comb it nice and smooth. And I'm going to cut, my guide is what I've already cut. I don't know if you guys could see. But my guide is, I can see it right through the hair right there. So I'm cutting it from the first part that I cut at the 0 degree. Okay, now I'm just going to bring down the rest of the hair, and I'm going to cut it all the same length. Whoops. So you know sometimes you're going to get clients that they want to have layers in their hair, but they want to flat iron it. They don't want to curl it that much, but you want to, those are the ones that sometimes when you look at people like that, you think, what? Their hair looks really choppy, especially when they flat iron it, because there's not a continuous layer cut throughout the hair. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my sides down, And I'm going to match them to the back. So I'm going to just comb them all the way nice and straight down using a piece from the back. I'm just going to cut straight across at a 0, all the hair at once. And then it's very easy to see your guide because there's not a whole lot of hair on the side of the head because of the ear. Okay, now I'll go to the other side. Taking a little piece of hair from the back as a guide. Okay, so now I have all my perimeter cut from the back all the way to the front. So now I could start the actual haircut, okay? So this is giving me a guide at the bottom. Now I want to create a guide at the top. So the way to create a guide at the top is I'm going to face my client and I'm going to take hair from each side of the part. So here's her part. I'm going to take a piece from this side, small piece. Just a small piece from there and a piece from over here. And I'm going to establish a guide of where she wants her first layer to start. So I'm going to ask her, where do you want your first layer to start? At your chin, in the middle of your chest? Do you want it lower? Where exactly would you like to see your first layer? That's where I'm going to start. So she's going to want her first layer a little below the chin. So I'm going to cut right there. And now I have a guide on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over there, that side over there, this side over here. Now I'm going to go back from the top of the head and I'm going to get my subsection from right behind the top of the head to behind the ear. And I'm going to comb that hair forward. And this hair, I'm just going to kind of clip it back so it doesn't get mixed up in there. Okay. And now I'm going to I'm going to frame her face. I'm going to frame the face so that it'll give me some layers right there. Okay, so I'm going to comb it from the part down. And I'm using the bottom as my guide with my fingers angled up towards her face. Because I want to create long to short. I'm going to start cutting right there. And the first cut is at 0 elevation, and then as I go up, I can elevate the hair slightly until I get to the top, till I get to her top layer. My fingers are still pointing at her face, and you can already see that you can see the face framing. Okay, so now I have this side. I'm going to go to the other side. So for this side, it's a little harder because this side is harder for people that are right-handed. Okay, so I'm going to clip this part back. And I can either stand on this side and bring the hair over here and cut up like this. Or I could stand on this side and I could just cut up the, whichever one is easier for you when you frame face. You probably all have framed face already, framed the face. Okay, so you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see it that good, but so now what we want to do is we want to make sure that both sides are the same length. So I'm going to get my shears, both sides, and I'm just going to check and make sure that we have kind of a uniform of layers on both sides. So pulling them forward and just checking them, we could see if they're the same. Okay, which they're good. Okay, our next step is going to be to create our layers at the top. Now we have a guide at the bottom around the perimeter. We have a guide of the layers that we're going to have throughout the head. So now I'm going to take a mohawk section at the top. So this is the reason why I like the hair to be pretty wet, because if it's nice and freshly shampooed, it's a lot easier to comb through than if it's dry. And because a lot of times they have, if their hair is dry or if they have a lot of chemical treated hair and it's been over processed, it's hard to comb through. So if you have freshly shampooed hair with conditioner on it, it makes your job a lot easier. Okay, so we're gonna go through, and so now I have my mohawk at the top. It's about, I want to say about 3 inches wide, and have my mohawk at the top. So I'm gonna follow my comb up until I get to the last of the layers that I made right there. That's what I'll move back. So I could see, here's my layer that I cut here. That's going to be my guide for the top. So I'm going to cut all of that straight across. This one is actually coming straight up. Okay, so I've cut that. Now I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to go back to my natural part. I'm going to let the hair part in the middle. So now I have a guide at the top and I have a guide at the bottom. So that's going to make it, whoops, it's going to make it really easy for me to cut the hair. Hopefully you'll be able to see the guides, okay? So I'm going to start right here at the front. And I'm going to take a pie section. So a pie section being wider at the top, narrower at the bottom. Okay, so wider here, narrow at the bottom. I'm going to take my first pie section right here at the front. So usually right in the front around the face, there's not going to be a whole lot to cut because we already framed the face and we already cut that piece. But we're just going to check it and trim it up if there's any long pieces. So I'm going to pull the hair out. This is a 180. This would be a 90. I'm going to go in between the 180 and the 90, and that's where I'm going to create my layers. Okay? So remember, not a 180, because a 180 goes straight up. If I was going to do, you see, this is 180, straight up. This is 90, straight out. I'm coming in the middle. And the reason I'm going to know where my guide is I'm going to follow my comb out. And then, once I find it, see if you can see it. Here's my guide at the top. And this short piece right here, this is the length of the hair. This is my short guide right here, okay? I have it twisted. Let me see if I got turned so you guys can see. Okay, so this is the top, and this bottom one is the length of the hair, see? So it gives me a guide at the top and a guide at the bottom. So I'm following the hair out in between, and I have a guide here, right here, and a guide right here. So now I'm going to cut everything in the middle. I know I have to cut all the middle hair because that hasn't been cut, okay? So I could see my guides very easily when I pull the hair out. Guide at the top, guide at the bottom. I'm going to cut everything in the middle. And then I'm going to put that hair down because it's already done. And I'm going to use a clip and clip it so I don't get it mixed up with the rest of the hair. I'm going to take my next pie section right here. And I'm going to do the same thing. Comb the hair nice and smooth. And you only take, the subsection should only be what you could handle. Okay? If you put your fingers right underneath your comb and follow your comb up, it's a lot more helpful. Okay? So then I go to where I see my guide. See if I can move again. So here's the hair. Here's my guide right here. Here's my guide right here on the bottom, and I'm going to cut all this hair in the middle. So my hand is going to be, my fingers should be at an angle. My hand should be, you know, like this, because you're cutting short to long. So your hand and your fingers should be at the angle that you want the hair to represent, short to long. Okay, so I'm taking another pie section. And I'm going to comb the hair up between the 180 and the 90. In between, not a 180, but not a 90. Right in between. And I'm going to cut. Now, in the back of the head has more hair per diameter than the front because of our ear. So in the back of the head, you're going to have to go down, not just go, you know, you're not going to just go up. You're going to have to come down to the midsection and then a little lower to make sure that all those layers connect. So once I cut up here, then I'm going to have to move down to the middle so I can connect the top layers to the middle and then the bottom. So I still have my guides. Here's the short hair right here. Here's the short hair. So then I cut everything that's in the middle. Okay? And then I'm going to come down to the bottom down here because I want to make sure that all the layers are connecting. So the back part of the head, you're going to go here, then you're going to come here, and then you're going to come here. Okay. So I'm taking another pie section, the back of the head, clip the other hair out of the way so I have a nice clean section. And I'm going to start with going up to find the top layer. I see my top guide at the top. Then I'm going to come to the midsection, connect the top to the middle. Here's my guide, the short hair right here, short hair here. I'm going to cut all the long ones. And then I'm going to come down a little lower and get those bottom ones. Clip that out of the way and continue. Now notice that I'm walking around backwards. So I started over here, I'm walking backwards this way. If I change and I start cutting this way, It's going to change the angle in which I'm holding the hair. That's going to make a big difference on your haircut. So you want to stay, the way you start, you want to stay like that. The position that your body's in. Okay. So my guide at the top, right here, cut. Come to the midsection, find my short guide, cut that, and then come down to the bottom. My guide is there, cut that, clip it. Now this is, I think this should be, or I might have two more subsections, and then I'll be done with the back of the head. And I'll be back to the side where I don't have to go to the bottom. And then I have to come down to the bottom. Section this over. If you don't see your guide right away, that means you're not holding it at the right angle. So you might have to comb it a couple times until you find the guide at the top. Remember, that's where you start, when you find the guide at the top. Okay, now I'm at the front, back at the front. So this part, I'm only going to have to cut it twice. Two different angles. Right at the top. Then come down just a little bit just to check. And then this top one. Of course, remember I said we're not going to cut very much there because we already cut it when we framed the face. So we're just checking it basically. And my haircut's done. So the way to check this haircut to see if it's all even is now I'm standing on the opposite side of where I started. So now I want to go back around and just pull up my sections of hair at the same angle, and anything that's longer, that's what you need to just cut. That's what's uneven. So just pick up your section again. Bring it up. Any hairs that look a little longer, just cut them. Should usually be all pretty even if you held your angles right. Okay. You should also be able to pick up this hair at a 180. So if I pick up the hair from the back and I hold it straight up, it should be all even. Okay. I can pick up the side. And hold it straight up, and it should be even. And you just check the hair, go all the way around. Now the thing you could do also with this haircut is once you blow dry it, you're gonna see if there's any areas that look kind of heavy, meaning that there's no movement in that area. They just look like it's maybe a long piece, maybe you skipped a little area and it didn't get cut. You can go back and you can pick up that section. Let's say, for instance, right here in the corner, it looks a little heavy. It looks like the hair's not flowing good. You can pick up this corner right here, and right in this area you can point cut So you can make the hair look a little more like it's layered in that area, if that's where your heavy area is at. Or where your area that looks like there's, you know, didn't get cut at the right angle, it might look too heavy. So we can just pick it up and point cut that out. Okay. And that helps to make it look like it has more movement. And then what you do is, once you get done, you kind of want to shake it out so you can see your layers and make sure that they all, you know, move around, like you could see them, that there's layers in there. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys could see too good. It's hard to see in the video. But, you know, you could see the movement of the hair there. So our first layer starts about right here, and it has a continuous layer going all the way down the hair. Okay? So I won't blow dry today. I'm going to blow dry it on another video so that you can see. We could blow dry and curl. But this is our layered haircut. Let me see if I comb our little out so you can see, get an idea. And then like right around the face, if you feel like it looks a little too heavy there and you would like it to be more defined, more wispy around the face, you feel like, you know, it looks too heavy, you could take your razor. Okay. And then with your razor, you can pick up your subsections around the face, and you can thin it out a little bit, so that way it's more defined. Her face framing is more defined. It makes it a little wispier if you just, and what I'm doing is I'm just laying my razor flat on top of the hair. Let me see. On the top of the hair, and I'm just dragging it across, and all it's doing is it's taking out weight so that it shows a little wispier, and it'll give you that more defined look of coming around, like, you know, around the face. Okay. Close your razor, put it back. I'm going to move her a little closer so you can see what I'm talking about. See, she's got a little more defined around the face. It's a little more piecey and wispy around here. So, and when you dry it, you'll be able to see it better. So that's kind of what the razor effect will give you, a little bit more around the face. And if you would like to go through the whole head and razor out sections nice and even across, kind of like what we do for state board, that will also give you, you know, a lot airier, piecey kind of a layered haircut. But as you can see, this haircut was pretty easy, and it gives fullness. It gives you a lot of layers. I know it's hard to tell right now, but it gives you a lot of layers, and it doesn't look stringy. Look how thick it is. Look how thick the bottom of the hair looks. There's no long stringy pieces like when you do the 180. Sometimes that leaves you like long pieces of hair that hang, and it doesn't look blended. This makes the hair look nice and thick, and that's what you want. You want a nice, healthy looking haircut. Okay, so I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, send me a text to remind or email me and I can help you out. Good luck. I hope you guys have a good haircut. Practice it and show me pictures.